everybody, and welcome back to the Dice Tower. My name is Zeke Garcia.
I'm Joey Evans.
And I'm Chris Yee.
Today we're taking a look at the latest from Unmatched, the ever-expanding line of Unmatched games. This is 2 boxes, actually, though we're only showing you one here, for The Witcher-themed Unmatched sets. One is called Steel and Silver, and the other one is called Realms Fall.
Yep.
Each one comes with 3 fighters from the world of The Witcher and 2 boards, or 1 double-sided board.
Right.
Unmatched is a fighting game, a head-to-head or multiplayer head-to-head fighting game in which you are going to be using your powers and abilities to take down the opposition, now with silver, steel, and magic. Let's go ahead and take a look at how the game works. I'll show you just a brief overview of the decks included in here, and we'll come on back. We'll tell you what we think of it. Let's start with The Witcher Realms Fall here. This set comes with 3 characters. You're going to have Triss and Yennefer together. You're going to have Eredin, the King of the Wild Hunt, and you are going to have Philippa. You also have a board that is double-sided, has 2 different play air surfaces. We'll come back to that in 1 second. I also want to point out that the ongoing schemes is going to be a big theme in both the sets, and that is something that stays in play, continues to benefit you until the player fails to do something, and then it will go away. All right? So let's take a look at the first one here, Triss and Yennefer. These are dueling heroes, so you actually get to decide at the beginning of the game if you want Triss to be the hero and Yennefer being the support character, or vice versa, okay? So you pick the card you want to go with, and that is going to decide who is who. And then a couple of cards here in the deck that are interesting. We have Telepathy. Immediately, your opponent may discard 1 card. If they don't, cancel all effects on their card. And you'll see that this deck is very good at draining your opponent of cards to play. This one here for Yennefer, Incinerate. This card's effects cannot be canceled during combat. Your opponent may discard 2 cards to ignore this card's value. If they don't, it's a 7. So again, it's an interesting way for you to take away your opponent's resources. And then there's this one here, the Lodge of Sorceresses. This one says each player simultaneously reveals a card from their hand and draws equal to the card's boost value. Very good. So both players will do that. Then the player or players who drew the most cards deal that much damage to their hero. So are you tricking your opponent, playing this and then playing a low boost card? Are you just taking the hit and drawing a bunch of cards, giving yourself a lot of power? Who do you use this against and how do you use it is a very interesting idea. So that is the Yennefer deck or Triss deck. Next up, we've got Eredin here, King of the Wild Hunt, who comes with Red Riders, 4 of them, in fact. So they're going to have 4 support characters. And the ability here being that while all the Red Riders are gone, and when they're all gone, they're all defeated, then Eredin becomes enraged, and a bunch of different cards are going to have enraged abilities. Plus, every card's value is +1, and the move value becomes 3. So don't forget, everything is +1 if all those Red Riders are gone. So taking a look at a few cards here. This Foul Purpose card says that if Eredin is enraged, you may play this card face up to target fighter in any space. So you can attack all the way across the board if you want to. You do play this face up, so they'll see what's coming. And then after combat, you may defeat a Red Rider to return this card to your hand. Obviously, if you did that second one, you were not enraged, so you would have played it normally, okay? Next up, we've got Implacable here, which is, again, if enraged, you may play this card as an attack. Normally, it's only a defense. And then during combat, you can boost this card. And then one for the Red Riders themselves, Unyielding Hordes. There's going to be a lot of trapping your opponents, right? You have 5 figures possibly to play with. So this is going to let you, pin them in a corner, do maneuvers like that. And so this one says, immediately return a defeated Red Rider to any space. That's great. And then during combat, add +1 to this card's value for each other friendly fighter adjacent to the opposing fighter. So again, this card's simply going to get better for you holding somebody else in place and hopefully wailing on them. That is the Eredin deck. The final deck that comes in this set is going to be the Philippa deck here, which is going to have an ability that lets you stay 2 steps ahead, as it says. At the end of your turn, you are going to draw up to 4 cards, if you want to. So she will never end a turn as long as she doesn't want to with fewer than 4 cards, which is tremendously powerful. So let's take a look at a couple of cards here. We've got this owl form. During combat, you may discard a number of cards from your hand. Add +1 to this card's value for each card discarded. And again, not as bad a punishment as you would think because she can just draw back up. So this card can certainly be very dangerous. We've got this backup plan here where you choose one of these two things. Set her health to 5 or draw 3 cards. And that's a very interesting one. It is such an interesting card that changes. Your perception of it will change based on where in the game you are. Setting your health to 5 can certainly be a big deal if you are down to 1 or 2. But drawing 3 cards, of course, is huge as well. And then one more here, Do My Bidding, which is immediately return your opponent's card to their hand, look at their hand, and choose a card for them to play, which could be the same card as it says. So really interesting, great manipulation, great way to not just peek at their hand, but force them to change what they're doing. And maybe you can take their big hit right now and you choose to draw it out. It's sort of like, forcing them to play when they would want to catch you with no defense. It's a very interesting, very flexible card. I like it a lot. And there you go. That is the Philippa deck. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the map real quick. So we've got the map here. It's double-sided, like I said. So this one I find to be pretty straightforward. It's a good, simple map. It works well. There's nothing that necessarily jumps out as being quirky or too weird. The other side, however, is very strange. This side represents a ship, and it is going to be the top of the ship and then the bowels of the ship, if you would. There's also a little boat right here next to it. And these arrows that you'll see, the color-coded ones, represent you going up top deck or down beneath. It can be a bit to wrap your head around this one, but it's very cool. Thematically, I like this one a lot. The idea that I'm in the ship here and I can take these stairs and then I come out there, and these two things are adjacent. So that's another thing you need to be careful for here. You can sort of leap into there and land inside the ship right here. You can, move here normally, but you can also sort of leap into a hole on the side of the hull of the ship, and you're inside of it now. Really neat, quirky. It takes, like I said, a little sort of wrapping your head around this one. It's a little harder to visualize, but I like the usage of space and the strange idea they decided to tackle here. I really like that one. The other available set comes with 3 more fighters. It's this steel and silver set. And it's going to come with Geralt of Rivia. It's going to come with Ciri, and it's going to come with an ancient Leshen here. So we're going to talk about these, and then again, we'll take a quick look at the board so you can see the maps included here. So we're going to start with the Witcher himself, or the best known one, I guess I should say. Geralt of Rivia here has an interesting idea. So there's no real ability on this card. All it says is at the start of the game, you're going to choose your gear. You select a potion out of 2, armor out of 2, and a sword out of 2, and you shuffle there's 2 copies of each of those cards into the deck. You put the other ones aside. That's it. That's what you're doing. So how does that work? Well, there's 2 copies of that sword and 2 copies of that one. There's 2 copies of that gear and 2 of that one. And then also we've got this and that. And you are picking a sword, a potion, and one of these pieces of armor. They obviously will have special abilities, and you get to see what your opponent is doing before you decide, or who they're bringing to the fight, I should say, before you decide. And therein lies the rub, right? So the swords, for example, there's Sword of Steel over here. After combat, gain 1 action. If the opposing fighter has 8 or more health, gain 2 actions instead. Okay, good for somebody who is enormous. Got it. If somebody has 8 or more health and they're likely to stay there, bring that sword. This one, immediately, if your opponent's card has a printed value of 4 or more, ignore its value. Okay, go for somebody who is maybe a bit more of a glass cannon. They maybe don't have a high health, but they hit very hard. Bring that sword. And so on for all of these things. They each kind of do something, and you have to decide, which thing you want versus the person you're, sitting at the table with. So very interesting. It does require you to sort of know who you're going up against, to sort of understand their deck, or maybe grab it and look through it real quick. But it's interesting. After that, the deck is actually very simple. You don't ever even have to check over here again, really. But you have to understand why you should pick one of these two things over the other one based on who's sitting across the table from you. The Siri deck here is going to have this uncontainable power ability, which becomes active when you have 7 of these sort of bubbles or energy fields in your discard pile, and then it has this ability. The effects on her cards cannot be canceled. So what are we talking about here? Well, a lot of her cards are going to have that symbol right there. And when this card is discarded, then we have 1 of that. And eventually you'll have 2 and 3 and so on. When we get to finally 7, then this ability is on. But besides that, a bunch of the cards will check for those as well. So for example, this card is strength 2. But during combat, if there's 1 of those already in the discard, then this card's value is 4 instead. If there's 5 or more of those in the discard, this card is 7 instead. And so once that's discarded, now we're at 1, right? This one here, channel the source. During combat, you may discard any number of those cards with the field, energy field, sort of bubble-looking thing, from your hand, and you add +2 to this card's value for each of those that you discarded. Tremendous card. Not only does it pump up this value, but it races you up to all of these abilities that are conditional. You now are that much closer, if not there, to triggering them. So it lets you discard a bunch of those in one fell swoop. And then one more we'll take a look at here is this, the Lady of Space and Time. It is versatile. It has a 2, but then if it's 3 of these have been discarded, then after combat, you're going to return a card from your discard pile to the top of your deck. If there are 8 or more of those, you return a card from your discard pile to your hand, and you draw a card. So very, very powerful in the late game, unless, again, you're rushing those symbols. So very interesting. A slower paced game, perhaps, a biding your time kind of deck, but it's certainly very powerful. And then lastly, we'll take a look at the Ancient Leshen, who also happens to have, by the way, one of my favorite miniature figures in this game ever for me. This is absolutely one of my favorites. It's incredible, quite large as well. And this guy is going to be all about the forest, hiding in the forest, bringing out his wolves, of which he has 2 to surround and protect him and attack the enemy. So the Heart of the Forest ability here is you add +3 to the value of your attack if you already attacked this turn, if the Leshen already attacked. So the opponent needs to be incredibly careful that they don't end up next to you and cannot move, because if you can attack and then attack again on the same turn, they're going to be in a world of hurt. He's very slow. He moves 1. The wolves move 3, as it says there. And then let's take a look at a couple of the cards. Okay, so Nature Abounds here. After combat, this is for any, it could be the wolves. Draw 1 card after combat for each of your fighters adjacent to the opposing fighter. Very good, great way to replenish your hand if you can surround the opponent with the wolves. This one here, a flock of birds. You know, the Ancient Leshen here can become a flock of birds. After combat, you may place the Leshen in any space. So he just sort of vanishes. And in fact, the next card has one of the coolest titles ever, Vanish into Murder. And you can see the Leshen becoming a murder of crows there. It is an action card. It says, deal 1 damage to each opposing fighter in the Leshen's zone. Remove the Leshen from the board. He's just gone. At the start of your next turn, place him in any space, then draw 1 card. Tremendous. He can just vanish. He's gone from the fight, and he will appear again at the start of their next turn. So really, really powerful, insane card there. So let's take a look at the play surfaces here at the maps. We've got this one here, which has these arrows that are going to be one directional, that being the idea. And it represents, in a very cool thematic way, people, characters leaping off of these ramparts into the courtyard below. So that is what's going on this side. And then on the other side here, we've got this, it's upside down to me. We've got this, this forest, which has some really neat choke points a little bit, including this area that is an area of one. You can't really see in there from anywhere. It's just too heavy, the forest, the dense foliage. And I like the way this one works out. It's fairly straightforward, but there are a few areas that are smaller than usual, especially right in here. You've got this area with only 4, this area with only 3, and then of course the one with only 1. So I like it. It feels a little bit more restrictive than these kinds of maps usually, but it's still pretty straightforward. So there you go. That is the Steel and Silver set. The Witcher theme is one that I've liked. The sort of little exposure I've had to it. I've played the video games, all 3. There's probably more than 3, but like Witcher, the original, I played a little bit, and then Witcher 2 lots and Witcher 3 lots.
Right.
I've never read the books, and I've seen the TV show. I don't know where you guys' experience is with the theme here.
I'm only TV show. And just because of that one kind of venue, I was all in on this. Because the theme just makes sense for Unmatched for me.
Yeah.
I don't know any of it.
Really? That's interesting.
No, yeah.
Okay, well, that's cool.
I know Henry Cavill plays Geralt.
Henry Ford
that's about it.
has played some really good parts in his life.
Yes.
Yeah, including Ford.
Yeah.
I thought that they did a really interesting job here thematically, tying what's going on with these characters, as far as I know, with the things you get to do in the game.
I agree.
You know, the idea of there's a lot of magic users in this world, and I thought they did a nice job representing that in here. The main character, Geralt of Rivia, is very much he prepares. And that's something that very much comes across in that deck, where you prepare the deck to go into a fight.
Some light deck building.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
I really like that one, because you're gearing up. You're getting the right armor, the right weapons, the right potions. You know who you're going. That just feels like, all right, I'm going to use this.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
And I like these sets that come with 3 characters.
Yes,
it's sort of an interim. You know, they've had, in the past, a lot of 4 character boxes. And a lot of 2 character boxes. Not that many, but they've had some 2 character boxes. And they've certainly had 3.
Marvel was 3, right?
Marvel was 3, and I'm guessing it's because of an intellectual property thing, where they can set the price high enough that they can pay for the intellectual property.
That makes sense.
And feature 3, you know. But if you want one of these, I think you want both of these.
I agree.
In my opinion. You know what I mean? I don't know if I could say right now, you want the Steel and Silver, but not Realm's Fall or whatever. If you want one, you want both.
I think as someone who is kind of an outsider to the intellectual property part of it, I do really like the characters that they all feel distinct from each other. Something Unmatched excels at.
Yes.
And I'm able to get a good flavor of what the character's about, right? Mm-hmm. Gearing up with Geralt. The Leshen, the treehorn guy, right? He literally disappears from the map. He seems to be basically become the forest, become like a flock of bats. Like, he's kind of a shapeshifter or like mysterious figure that's speaking with no knowledge. And that comes through in the decks.
Yeah.
It seems to me, and maybe I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts on this, the Silver and Steel set are kind of the more, I'm going to say, straightforward characters, whereas the ones in the other set are kind of funky, and I like how they are a little bit more strange.
I wonder. I don't know if maybe, yeah. I don't know the logics of how they separate them. My cynical side is probably going to guess, because they group they separate the more popular characters.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
No one buys the set for like the Wild Hunt leader guy, but they'll buy it for Geralt or like Yennefer or whatever. You know what I mean? So I'm assuming that's how they're doing it. I really like the characters. My least favorite, I would say, is Ciri. I'm guessing is how you say her name.
I agree.
I thought she was a little less interesting than everybody else.
It's one of those, like, it's almost close to Sinbad, I think, the journey cards get in there. But she scales at the end. I mean, she can just give bloodbaths, when she has
Right.
all those. But then it's just getting to that point, You're just running, trying to get those, I don't know what they call the icons in your deck.
Right.
The
But yeah.
magic that builds up.
Right.
in
I
discard,
agree.
yeah.
She's my least favorite.
You have to play the really long game for her.
You do.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, then like my favorite one is the Ancient Bleshin, which is in the same box. So it's like, well,
Really? You do like that one? That's your
I
favorite?
do. I think that's my favorite. Yeah.
I
There's
like-
a lot of them that are very, very good. It's a solid grouping of characters.
Philippa, I think that's the way you say it anyway.
Yeah.
Now, is she the one with the 4 cards at the end of your turn?
Yeah, you draw to 4.
always-
I
Yeah.
like that. And then she also has the chain lightning, I think, that you can take out those one-hit minions and little things like that. Man, I like Philip. I think that's probably one of my favorites besides Geralt.
I think
Yeah.
Philippa is strange because you have to play. You can play so differently. You can be reckless with your deck so long as you don't deck out and then start
Right.
taking that exhaustion
Sure,
damage.
sure.
But it really lets you just go to town with it. Here's a 4 strength card or 3 strength. Discard as many cards as you want to add +1. And then, hey, by the way, at the end of your turn, draw 4 cards.
Yeah.
Woo!
She plays the really short game.
She does.
Yeah.
She
You know what I
does.
mean?
And that negates my problem, not like a problem with the game, problem I have, because I will be stuck with no cards in my hand. And your opponent will see that. But with her, you just keep drawing up.
Right.
Yeah. One fun thing that you can always look forward to with Unmatched games is mixing them
Yeah.
with other Unmatched stuff, And you don't have to. If you're someone who has never been interested in Unmatched, you're aware of it, but you haven't liked what they've put out, but you love The Witcher, this will give you everything you need to have fun. Buy both sets, combine all the people. You can play 2 or 3 players. And you can have a blast all day. You don't need any other content.
All the maps have 4 starting spots, so you can mix. You can have a
yeah.
4
Do that
player
too, yeah.
with it all within the same IP. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess out of one box you can do 3. You can do more if you get both. But you can also mix this stuff with everything else that's out there, and that's fantastic because it does not feel like there is duplication here. It does not feel like you are getting a character that kind of just seems like a slightly changed so and so.
It's incredible they're still doing that because every time you're like, okay, it's going to be a repeat, but no, there's some new ones. The shifting hero and sidekick on that one. I think is it
The Yennefer and
Yeah.
yeah.
I like
Triss,
a lot of the
yeah.
ideas in there, and the slight deck building of the Geralt.
I think that's what I mean by like the Yennefer and Triss. Like you can change who's the hero and who's the sidekick. That feels weird, and I like that. The one we were just talking about, who always draws back up cards.
Philippa, yeah.
Philippa. She also is kind of weirder, and then I really love Eladin, the undead knight who wants to build up his rage by having you kill all his little minions.
Yeah.
Normally, you have to play kind of conservative with those little, squishy one-punch guys. But you're like, I don't mind if you take them all out.
Yeah.
Because then I'll just be stronger and move faster. I think that set, the what is the name of the
Realms
second?
Fall, yeah.
Realms Fall. I feel like that one's going to have, if you're like, name one for me to buy, that one has some of the stranger character that leans into the, like, feels more different from the other Unmatched.
Yeah, makes sense.
I think that's neat. Yeah, I think if
Yeah.
you are someone who's not into Unmatched and you want one set because you like The Witcher, get the one with Geralt,
Yes.
and there you go. You got the main guy, right? I mean,
Yep,
if
that's
you
what I
are
mean.
someone who is into Unmatched, but you don't care about The Witcher, and you only want one set, then get Realms Fall because you're getting stranger characters, right? They're a
Yeah.
little bit more outside of the box, and then you'll feel like you get to explore what this set is bringing to the table without necessarily needing the theme. And you don't need the theme, right? Chris doesn't know it, but you're having a good time with this. Yeah, I think overall it's a good set. I think my only small complaint is that the maps included in here are just fine.
Right.
Nothing is blowing my mind. To be fair, I don't need the maps to blow my mind. You know what I mean? What else can you do? There's so many maps. They're hard to make new ones or interesting ones. The one with the one-directional arrows is probably my
I
favorite.
agree.
The ship is quirky,
Yeah,
but it's a little hard to
mind-bending.
see visually, sort of jumping from the top to the bottom. It's like it's, the 3D thing. They're fine. It's about the worst thing I can say for the sets is that the maps are okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? Final thoughts, guys. Where do we want to start?
I'll jump in first. Yeah.
Coop.
When I thought about this, like, well, I don't really have the theme, the IP to kind of buoy this up for me in a degree. But then also playing through all the characters, I was like, I can tell what kind of characters they're going to be in the video game or in this series. I think that's a huge bonus to this. I'm giving this one an 8.5, each of the sets, right? Because I like that. I like that the stranger characters are kind of in that 3 together. But if you want the title character or the main character, you know he's also in a very good box.
Yeah.
That Silver and Steel does not feel like we put the main character and some other people, right?
Yeah.
Both are very fun. Both are good. I appreciate the touch that even though the maps aren't mind-blowing, they're double-sided. You want a funkier map? You've got one that has one special different rule.
Yeah.
And then the backsides are pretty normal, right?
Yeah.
And there's 2 maps in each, which they haven't been doing lately.
Yeah.
You know? For a while there, they were giving you the same map on both sides with a different graphical design. But this is actually 2 different maps in each.
Right.
And I think that's really good because this is probably going to be a lot of people's starter sets.
Yeah, maybe only thing they get. Yeah.
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 So these are both solid products for that, and they're both solid additions if you want new stuff for co-op. Some of these characters are going to be so fun in co-op. You know, using the Leshen and having his wolves throw people around to be kind of like surrounded, doing pack tactic type stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
That's going to be a lot of fun. Great expansion for existing stuff, competitive, co-op, or standalone, you know, if this is it.
Yep. I'm going to go next. I'll come a bit higher to 9. I really like these. I like Geralt. I like the whole slight deck building because it's very simple. You just grab the sets that you want and put it in there, and you gear up depending on what you're fighting. Outside of this set, I think he'll be a fun one to bring out there. And everybody here is so unique. There's so many different ideas. I mean, I love it. And again, I'm with you. The maps, I don't think I'll ever go back to the ship one. I played it. I'm fine with it. But again, the maps are just fine. You know, the one-way arrows, I do like that. Add some variety. But the ship, the maps are good.
Yeah.
Not great.
I'm coming down at the same. I'm also giving it a 9. For me, the Marvel Unmatched stuff,
Yeah.
I keep insular a little bit.
Right.
I don't mind I'm not, some people really love that sort of anachronistic stuff or mixing intellectual properties and all of that. For me, I never necessarily want to play, you know, Daredevil against, like, Little Red Riding Hood. I don't. You know, it doesn't...
Right.
I mean, I would, but it doesn't... I'm not like, ooh, I'm psyched to try that. So I keep that stuff separate. I think The Witcher, though, toes that line.
Yeah.
Where I'm happy to play this on its own. It's a great self-contained 2 boxes. But I want to mix it with some other stuff, too. And I think it's because it's monstrous enough, sort of fantastical enough that it will mix with, you know, Sinbad. It will mix with some of these other more monstrous ideas. You know what I mean?
I can imagine The Witcher in those worlds a bit more.
Right.
Against aliens with the T-Rex. You know,
Like, who's the
things
one
like
who comes
that.
out of the mirror? The
Bloody Mary.
Like, I could see The Witcher, right?
Oh,
Geralt
man.
of Rivia going up against Bloody Mary.
And I would watch that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I'm,
Yeah.
you know, the Leshen up against Bigfoot. I want to see that fight in the woods.
The
That's gonna be a
slowest
wild
fight ever.
fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Can find each other.
yeah, right. There's that
good.
too. So this is a great box. Is
I
my
agree.
point. If you are someone who wants just this is a great jumping on point. Not too difficult, I think, for anybody to understand. A really solid, self-contained game here.
We did not mention the fact that Unicorn will just gore you.
It will do that.
Oh, man.
But if you want to mix stuff, I also think this is a really, really good set.
Yeah,
And it's going
I
to,
agree.
flavor-wise, mix with a lot of other stuff.
it
So
will.
there you go, folks. That's going to do it for us. A lot of high scores there, which gives this a seal of excellence. That is The Witcher Unmatched, both sets together here. Steel and Silver and Realms Fall, both fantastic. So that's going to do it. Thank you very much for tuning in and watching. My name is Z Garcia.
I'm Joey Evans.
And I'm Chris Yee.
We'll see you on the next one.
riding a unicorn.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you, and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Vassell.